Let's take a few breaths together. Exhale it all out. Take a deep breath in. And let it go. Let's do that together 2 more times. Breathe in. Let it go. 1 more together. Breathe in. And let it go. And so, good morning, beloved community. If you don't know me, I'm Reverend Elisha Christopher. I'm the spiritual director here at the center. I do use they and them pronouns. My ancestors immigrated to this country from Ireland, Scotland, Austria, and Holland, and many other places. And I'm grateful to be with you yet again. What another week we have had in America and on planet Earth. Wow. This is a hard time to be awake, to be paying attention, to be compassionate, to be conscious. Because everywhere I turn, at least almost every day, there's an opportunity that something moves me away from my center. And I love that we have these global themes that we share throughout the Centers for Spiritual Living, and our talk titles and our monthly themes are prepared about a year in advance by a team of which I am part that visions and creates these themes for our global movement that we use throughout the year. And so this month's theme is the something like the energy of coming and going. And this morning's talk title is, I got it, I lost it. Which I thought was quite appropriate. Because, we come into this space, right? We be in community, we do our spiritual practice, we're in prayer, we're in the chants, we're in the music, and we're like, yes, I got it. I'm centered. I remember my truth. I know who I am. I know what I believe. I know who we are. I know what my vision is. I know what the world is that I want to live in. And then we experience life. We see all the things that are unfolding, that are coming at us. And we had that, I got it, and I lost it. And then we have to come back, right? Because the whole spiritual practice is about coming back to center every time, about remembering every time we forget. That we come back to the truth of who we are. We come back to the truth of who we know. And a new thought popped up last week in our talk, which was this idea, we've all heard this phrase, right? What you resist persists, right? We talked about this last week. And the big aha that I had was, as a spiritual principle, I've been taught that as for many years, don't push against, because what you push against just gets stronger and it wears you down. But then I had the reversed spiritual principle wake up. What happens when I are the thing that's being resisted? Right? When our beliefs, my community, my identity, when the things that we hold sacred are what are being resisted or what are being pushed against, perhaps it makes them stronger. Perhaps when we are the thing, when my beliefs, when my identity, when my truth of oneness, of love, is that which is being pushed against, and I hold that place strongly, it grows within me. Right? The pressure makes it stronger, right? And so there's been this big aha for me this week of, this is our work. Our work is to become unmovable. Our work is to become so grounded, so centered in our spiritual practice, so grounded in love, so grounded in oneness, so grounded in truth, so here for the justice, so here for the equality, so here for the diversity, so here for the inclusion, right? That we become immovable, we become clear in our stance, so that anything that comes our way gets exhausted trying to wear us down. right? That's our work, is to find our strength in our spiritual truth, to find our strength in our community, right? And I've been thinking a lot this week about, many practices like, say, Qigong or Tai Chi or even Aikido, right? These practices that are about moving energy. But part of that practice is you have to find your stance. You have to find where your center of gravity is so that anything that comes your way, you're able to redirect that energy and you are not moved. And you see those great Aikido masters when someone comes running at them and they flip a finger and the person's laying on the ground, right? We want to find that power in our consciousness, in our ability to show up for the good fight. Right? And thank you, Topher, for the Star Wars quote earlier. Those of you who are in my year-long synthesis class, we're using Star Wars as our mythic theme for the year because we've decided that justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, JEDI, makes us Jedi. Right? And so we are working with the Force, we are working with the Source, we are working with the infinite power to create with, to move with, but also to become unmovable, so that we become the directors of energy, right? And I've been doing a little Star Wars deep dive recently. And, part of the Jedi practice is not to allow fear, anger, jealousy, all of those, what we might call the dark side emotions, right? Not to let them consume you. And to find a centered place where the emotional body and the mind do not take over the deeper current that's moving through you. And that's where our practice in community comes in. Because we can hold each other in that centered space. We can hold all that's difficult and all that's churning for us. It's a lot easier when we hold it together, right? If there's a great big rock that we're all trying to lift, I can't do it by myself, but if we all come together and put our hands in, it's much lighter. And so I just want to remind us all that spiritual practice, that being awake, that being on purpose, does not look like getting it right every time. One of the things you've probably heard me say many times is that the neuroscience of meditation and spiritual practice, right? The scientists that study the brain and when we're doing all the great spiritual practices, one of the things that they see is that when you study someone who's meditating, and say you have a practice, one of my teachers had a practice of counting their breaths backwards from 100 while meditating. Take a deep breath in, 100, exhale, take another deep breath in, 99, exhale. Don't worry, we're not going all the way. But that's the practice. And anytime you lose count, or forget that you're counting, or forget that you're breathing, or forget that you're meditating, you go back to 100 and you start counting your breaths again. My teacher said, one of my teachers lived in a monastery for 13 years, did this practice every day, multiple hours a day, said in 13 years he got to 0 once or twice. Because that's not the point. The point isn't to get to 0. The point is to go back to 100. And what the neuroscientists tell us is when you're looking at a brain scan of someone who's meditating, it's not when you're in the zone, like, yeah, I got this, where your brain's making new connections. It's when you forget, you break the practice, and you start over again, your brain goes zip, reinforce the practice. So the practice is to keep going back, right? Every time we think we got it, we're going to lose it again at some point. So we go back. We go back. And I want all of us to really figure out for ourselves what your grounding and centering practices are, because they are vital. They are vital for our survival, truly, in this moment. Our spiritual practice is necessary. You know, some of you have heard bits of my story over the course of my life. I've dealt with depression. I had suicidal issues when I was much younger. And this philosophy, these spiritual practices of meditation, spiritual mind treatment, spiritual community, chanting, meditation, all of these things saved my life. Changed my thinking, changed the inner parts of me, showed me to my truth, found me my center, revealed my divinity. And in that there was a healing. In that my power was revealed. And I want to tell you that what we believe, the power of our spiritual truth, is life-saving. And we are all in a crisis moment together where we need that truth. Right? So whether it's your time in nature, whether it's sitting here on Sunday morning, whether it's the song that Lori or the band or the musicians gift us that rings through your head all week long. Does anybody have that? There's usually at least one song that happens on Sunday that carries me through all week long. Jason's in the choir, and last week we had the Let Actual Light Come Shining, and for about 4 days, anywhere in the house I'd hear, La ilaha illallahu, la ilaha illallahu. And I was like, yeah, there it is, right? Because it rings around in our mind and it brings us back. The practice, the melody, the song, the prayer, the meditation brings us back. So whatever it is for you, commit to that. Because we're all in like super Jedi mind training right now. And we have to learn how to move with what's coming. We have to learn how to use the Force. Trust the source. Trust the source. And there is a source of all life, a source of all being, a source of all possibility that all of us are working with. And thank you for the song just before I came up, Lori, because it was such a reminder that everything that's happening right now, all that feels like fear, all that feels like overwhelm, all that feels like it's pushing and taking away, is here to wake us up. This is our opportunity to be shaken, awakened. Shaken, awakened. This is the moment, right? This is the shake up for the wake up. Because this is our moment. And if we don't do something with it, if we don't do something with this moment, then we just let whatever is happening continue to happen. And we cannot do that. But we have to find our power. We can't step into the storm unprepared. So we have to get our spiritual raincoats on so that we know how to weather through what's coming. And I will say this, that I'm not entirely sure that I believe we can stop what's happening right now. But we can prepare ourselves to be here with and for each other in the process. And we get to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to be in the midst of what's unfolding. And in the process, we still have to harbor a dream. We still have to harbor a vision. We still have to hold true to what we believe is sacred and what we stand for and become absolutely unmovable in our beliefs for love and our belief in the innate spiritual magnificence of each person. We have to become unmovable. This is a great test of our beliefs. Every moment, every day. And we get to decide how we're going to be. So cherish those moments when you got it. When you feel your truth, when you're in alignment, when you feel empowered, when you know you're on purpose. And then when you lose it, remember you have practices to come back. You have practitioners and ministers in this community who will pray with you, who will remind you of the truth. You have spiritual community with which you can come together and be held in your grief, in your joy, in your whole process. And then each one of us has our practices, whatever those are. But it might be an opportunity to recommit right now to whatever necessary practice is yours. Whatever it is, whatever alignment you need to do to hold that sacred center and commit to it and recommit to it. You know, I think it's the Rumi poem that says, "Come yet again, come. Even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come yet again, come." So recommit right now to whatever your spiritual practice is, to whatever shift or change or activation you feel you need to make. Maybe you got it, maybe you lost it. This is the moment to claim it again. So let's take it inward. Take a deep breath. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. And take another deep breath in. And as I say often, with these breaths, let us remind ourselves that we are not breathing, that we are being breathed, that we are being lived. For what I know is that there is one infinite presence, one consciousness, one power, one mind, one life, one love. I call it God. But what I know is that this one is so much more than a word. This one is the infinite. This one is the body of the universe. And this one is each one of us. Because I know there is one seamless presence that's living and breathing throughout the entirety of existence. That truth, that is my center. One life. One infinite being looking through my eyes and speaking through me right now. That very same being is hearing these words. That very same one life is living and breathing in, through, and as everyone in this nation, unfolding as everything that is happening, unfolding as all that is, unfolding as the very earth life, as the very universe itself, one life. And so what I claim, know, and declare today is that each one of us has the opportunity to reach into that truth, that there is a source, that there is a force that holds the galaxies together, that drives evolution, that animates all of existence. And it is that infinite power that is coursing through our veins. It is that infinite power that has the ability to act and speak and march and stand up as each one of us. So let us stand firmly in the truth of our wholeness, so that anything unlike that wholeness, so that anything unlike that love, so that anything that is in resistance to that truth has no power over me. For there is no one and no thing outside of any one of us that has power over us, because the power within us is greater than anything we can comprehend. And so we come back to that truth over and over again. With every prayer I speak, I begin in that place of remembering the oneness. Every time we come back into this place, we are reminded of our truth. So come back. Yet again, come back to the self. Come back to the center. Remain unmovable. Remain grounded. Remain in the love. We remain in the possibility. We remain in the vision. Because if what resists persists, then we are persistent, and we are consistent, and we are here unmovable in our truth, rising up into our spiritual magnificence, claiming the power of who we are. Each one of us Jedis in training, here to stand for justice, for equity, for diversity, inclusion, and so much more. Because what I know is that I hold a vision of a world that works for all of humanity, for all of life. I hold a vision where we remember the sacred in everyone and everything. We remember that the sacred is the ground we walk on, the sacred is the food we eat, the sacred is the resources from which we resource our lives, that the sacred is the breath, that the sacred lives in each and every human being, that the sacred is the sun shining, that the sacred is the nature of existence. And that when we, as a global human family, remember that all is sacred, we can remember our humanity, and we can find God in each other. And we can erase the borders and the divisions between us and celebrate. And so I just move to a moment of gratitude for this beloved community, for the space that we are creating, for the evolution that we are participating in, for the grounding that we are cultivating together. I'm grateful for it all. And it's from this place that I invite us each to return to the breath. Taking a deep breath in and letting go. Remembering that a simple breath can bring us back to center. Breathing in, being breathed. And so I know that in this moment, we got this. We remember. And we let it be. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you.